Welcome to another reaction video where today we're going to be interacting with an Australian pastor in the Acts 29 network, and we're going to be talking about transgender stuff. Oh, goody.
The first and fundamental response to our humanity, according to the Bible, is that we'd marvel at the beauty of God's good design.
I'm with him so far.
Whether you are a man or a woman.
Hate crimes. Danger alert. I hope that here we are, we're having to introduce the trigger alerts. We don't normally do trigger alerts, but I'm going to do it on behalf of this using hateful terms like man or woman out in public.
Whether you're a woman who feels like a man or a man who feels like a woman, God says you're not an accident. You're not a product of society. You're made in the image of God. You're crowned with His glory. So in the end, for Christians, the question is not, who does the world say I am? The question is not, who does society or some religious or political figure say I am? In the end, the question is not even, who do I say I am? The question is, who does God say that I am?
Now, I want you to notice how he lays this premise down, and it's really, really good. The issue is, who does God say I am? Not even who do I say I am. But then he goes on to ignore what God says, this man who feels like a woman. What does God say? This woman who feels like a man. What does God say? And this gentleman is saying we must defer to what the person feels and not to what God says.
And God says you are loved. God
says that you are, in the first instance, you bear the image of God. Male and female created He them, Genesis 1:27. This is embedded in us. We bear the image of God. We bear the image of God in a gendered way, male and female. And he's saying, let's erase all that and just talk about God's love for ambiguously defined bipedal carbon units.
God says you're made by Him and you are made for Him. And this is where Christians can and must lean into the rights of those who identify as transgender.
We must lean into the rights of those who identify, those who deny what God says about them. We must go with them instead of what God says about them. But he said earlier that the thing that matters is what God says about them. What God says about them is that transgenderism is folly and confusion. So why isn't he going with that? Well, because he doesn't really mean it when he says we must go with what God says.
The Christian philosopher Edith Stein explains, whoever is near us and needing us must be our neighbor. The love of Christ knows no limits. It never ends.
Suppose I am an American middle-class citizen who feels like I'm the king of Prussia. Okay, the love of Christ knows no limits. It never ends. Does that mean my delusion must be catered to by him? Or if I said I identify as a Confederate general who brilliantly won the war and the South is an independent nation, is he going to cater to my delusion because the love of Christ knows no limits? It never ends? No, it never ends if you are catering to the left demands. It ends pretty abruptly and pretty hard if you try to go to the right, huh?
So if that means advocating for better health care and social support, if that means creating space for gender-inclusive bathrooms and policies that acknowledge a person's humanity and their inherent value, if that does mean thinking through complex questions around sport...
What's complex about it? This dude wants to run in the women's heat. What's complex about that? Why is he entering into the confusion? And if the love of Christ knows no end, why on earth are we letting Bruno shower with the junior high girls? What about the love of Christ for the junior high girls? What about that? Well, it looks like I said earlier, it only stretches to the left, not to the right.
Or the particular and unique struggles that the trans community face when it comes to healthcare and domestic violence. And
they're mentally ill people. And when they're mentally ill people and they mutilate themselves or they beat up one another, we ought to have some sort of care. He's absolutely right. They bear the image of God. We ought to care for them, but you don't care for mentally ill patients by catering to the mental illness. You don't reinforce the lies.
And homelessness, then we as Christians should be on the front lines shining light and offering love, because trans people are real people. They're not a political tool or an object for our debate. They're not a punchline in our comedy. They shouldn't be weaponized in our social commentary.
This illustrates, like few other things could, the spiritual and theological bankruptcy of the modern Reformed evangelical movement. This is just atrocious. So, thanks for watching our content. We really appreciate it. I want to take a second to talk about my book, Angels in the Architecture, and how you can listen to the audio version for just 99 cents, which, if you round up, is a whole $1. The modern view of the world is empty and lifeless. Nothing more than a bunch of matter in motion, with life by the thousandth, millionth chance emerging from chaos. The modern world, as a result, can only conceive of progress as more efficiency, more technology, more domination, greatly improved matter in motion. By way of contrast, the Christian faith presents a glorious vision for culture and a vision of the world in which truth, beauty, and goodness are built into the very molecules of the universe. Angels in the Architecture, which I wrote together with Doug Jones, the book covers such diverse topics as creeds, poetry, history, the church, feasting, and storytelling. And here comes my best imitation of a salesman. The audiobook is now available at mycanonplus.com. If you haven't joined Canon Plus yet, what's wrong with you? Oh, yeah, excuse me. You can get your first month for just 99 cents by using promo code DOUG99, DOUG99, all caps. My name is in there not as an ego thing. We're just trying to help you remember it.